Hi, everyone, and welcome to the HSE GED information session. So, those of us that are presenting the information for you guys today are really glad that you're here. So, the Fab Four, we have returned. So, I'm going to be one of your presenters. My name is Sheree Lopez, and then my counterparts are also here too. So, you have Miss Eleanor, Miss
Hi.
Maria, and Ernesto. So, if you guys want to say hi, y'all can
Hello.
say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I
And we'll be here to kind of give you guys just a quick crash course over what HSE is. And it's going to be split into two different parts. So the first half looks at some of the information that we would give a prospective student that's interested in signing up for class or taking the test. The second half kind of focuses in on a little bit more of the educator side of it. So if you're a faculty or staff member and a student inquires about the program, we wanted you to have a couple of talking points in your back pocket ready to go just in case somebody, flags you down, when we go back to campus, they flag you down outside, y'all know how it goes. They see our name tags and they're like, TCC person. No idea which department they work for, but they're going to flag you down and they're going to ask their questions. I want to make sure everybody's equipped and ready to go. Alrighty, so we're going to get started, and then you guys just feel free if y'all have some questions or you want to interject some points. We'll go ahead and we'll do it. Okay, so the first slide talks about how do I earn my HSE or High School Equivalency or GED credential. So what we do is we address the different reasons that a prospective student has come to see us. And again, this is the information session. This is before they come to orientation. This is before they actually sign up for class. So they learn what they need to know about the class itself, how to earn the certificate, because just because they've taken the class doesn't mean that they've automatically graduated, and then how they go about planning ahead, not only for signing up for classes, but after they finish their class and they're planning their next move, whether they're going to go to college and pursue a degree or certificate, whether they're going to go out into the workforce or they're trying to get promoted or maybe they're changing careers, or if they're going to go into the military. So those are a couple of things that we touch on up front. HSE or GED classes require you to, just like the other college classes, attend class every day according to your class schedule and time. And we have daytime classes, there's afternoon, there's evening classes as well. Right now, everything's being done remotely, but once we're allowed to return to campus, then depending on the location that you sign up for, they will be able to provide you with that schedule, whether that class meets once a week or twice a week. Way back when I first started teaching it myself back in 2008, my classes met 4 hours, 4 days a week. So 16 hours a week. Like it was like a part-time job. Call the instructor when you're late or sick. Dress like young ladies and young gentlemen. Respect. So respect the students, respect your property. Be prepared to do your assigned classwork and focus on getting your HSE GD certificate. So with that assigned classwork, remember you're covering 4 to 5 subjects in your one class. So we expect you to come in, handle your business, and then we get you across the stage. That's the goal. Planning ahead. So just like I tell my college level students that I'm working with right now, we want to make sure that you take care of those child care responsibilities up front, your family and personal plans, your employment schedules, your transportation. In this case, where we're in a online or remote environment, we want to make sure the technology requirements are ready to go. So do you have access to a computer or do you need to check out a device from TCC? Uh, do you have access to reliable internet? Those different types of things. So we want you to assess that up front before you sign up. Do the assessments themselves. So what happens is when you come in for orientation itself, So that would be the next step after the information session. You come in for orientation, and the orientation is set up as approximately an 8-hour session. Not all in one day. It's typically over a 2-day session. The first day, you're going over policies and procedures, filling out state required paperwork. And then you're going to take the TABE locator. On the second day, you're actually taking a placement test on the TABE, and it's over math and reading, and it's over writing. It's multiple choice. And we use that to place you into your class and to get an idea of what you're coming in already knowing. If you took the test prior to 2014, then you'll recall that it had 5 sections: science, social studies, reading, language arts, and mathematics. In 2014, they changed the test and it got moved onto the computer. And essentially the difference is the reading and language arts is now combined. They're all together. And then there's also additional information about each portion of the test, including the length. So it'll give you a breakdown as far as how many questions there are, how long you have to take the test, if you can take a break between those different portions, and if you have to take it all in one day. That's going to vary by the testing center. If you try to take it all in one day, it's like a 7.5-hour deal. I personally do not recommend taking all of it in one day. If you can split it up and do 1 or 2, that's the way I would do it. And I included a link on here that gives you information about that. So you'll see that information there. How do I sign up to take the test? Okay, so what happens is during the orientation session, you take the TABE online as your pre-test. When you complete your class, you're going to post-test on the TABE online a second time so we can measure your progress. And then from there, that's where that instructor will kind of tell you, yeah, I feel like you're ready to go take the reading assessment, or hey, you know what, I want you to do another round with us in class on the math. Let's touch that up a little bit more before I send you out to go test. So that's one of the ways that we measure it. They may also send you to go take the GED ready if you're going to take the GED assessment. So that's on GED.com through GED Testing Services, where they have a practice test that you can do on the computer. And it gives you an idea of what those questions are going to look like. The thing is, the GED Ready does cost money too. So if you're taking off for parts of the GED Ready, then, and they're not running a special on those vouchers, you might be spending $24 for that practice test. So it's not something that you want to take and you haven't prepared for, because that's going to get very expensive very fast, and that's just a practice version. The actual GED test itself costs $145, and it's $36.25 per section. And what you do is you register online, you select your testing center. So whether it's one of the TCC's testing centers, Venture High School in Arlington can do it. There's a couple of other approved testing centers in the area. You'll select that. You'll select your language, whether you want to take it in English or Spanish, all those different types of things, and they'll cover it that way. And again, you pay for the sections when you register for them, so it's not $145 up front. It's just like if you register for one section, it's just the $36.25. You pay for that one section, you get your test scheduled, and then you go take that one part. And then they're going to ask you for identification, so you'll need a government-issued photo ID. It has to have your picture on it, or your social security card, things like that. And then minors, if you're under the age of 18, there's some special rules that apply to you. How do I sign up for classes, or how do I find out what's going on with the classes, or if they're running? So there's a couple of different ways. So you can contact the community education and engagement offices on each of our Tarrant County College campuses, and I included the link here. You can also contact one of our off-site learning opportunity centers managed by TCC Workforce Services, so that's my previous department. And I included their link here, and it's going to give you a list of all the different locations. And then remember, orientation is required for anyone that will be enrolling in class. So you have to attend orientation first for you to be able to sign up. That is a state requirement. So the information for the Community and Industry Education offices, so there's that link that I put here. They are available remotely to assist you with your questions. And then here's the phone numbers and the email addresses for each of the locations. So this is our home location right here. So you see the 6 that are represented. And then for the off-site satellite locations that are housed through the TCC Opportunity Center, then the TCC OC offers classes. And then our other district locations that we have with our community partners, with some of the area churches, community centers, Arlington ISD, Fort Worth ISD, and Birdville ISD, all those different places, their information is located here. So you're welcome to contact them directly as well to see what their schedule is going to be for orientation, what their hours of operation are for their classes, and if they're offering GD in English, GD in Spanish, or a combination of both. Then we also address what happens next. So what we do here is we want to make sure that once you complete your GED or HSE credential, that it's not the end point. We want you to know that it's the beginning. So we actually offer a transitions class for our students that are in the HSE, High School Equivalency Program, but it's the ones that are getting ready to finish, and we get ready and we bridge you over to the college if getting a degree or a certificate is something that is on your radar. So really good candidate would be somebody who maybe has already scheduled their test, or maybe they have one more test to go, and they know, I want to come to TCC. I want to enroll in this degree program, or I'm interested in the certificate program. We want to get them ready for that. So that's where you would be doing that. And the non-credit version of the transitions class it's like a crash course. It's any version of the college transition to college success class that I teach. So it's just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what's coming, so you're prepared for that college level work. Also, some of our counterparts are working with the PACE program. The PACE program's on hold for right now, but what that was doing is we had grant funding available for students that were in our GED HSE program, where they could take their class and be dually enrolled working on a level 1 certificate. So for example, I had a student that was referred to me from one of my counterparts that came from GED. She was working on her phlebotomy certificate. She completed her GED already. She completed it a few months ago. She completed the phlebotomy certificate, and then her instructor referred her directly to me and said, hey, I have this student that has completed the GED. She's getting ready to wrap up with phlebotomy. She wants to continue her path within the healthcare career cluster. Can you assist her? And so we were able to do that warm handoff. And I'm actually working with her right now to get her switched over to the credit side so she can start classes next month in the fall. So you see, it's like this continuation. It's this on-ramp for you. Okay, and then this part 2, a couple of resources for the educators. So faculty, staff, I've got you covered in case you get one of those random phone calls or somebody flags you down outside and they start asking you questions about the program. I just wanted to give you just a couple things just in case you get a couple of questions, and I don't know, maybe CEE is closed because they have training or something like that, but you want to give the students some basic information, so that way they don't walk away with anything. So that's the focus of part 2. So first of all, HSE, GED, High Set, ABC 1, 2, 3. What does it mean, right? Anybody who's worked for TCC long enough knows we have a million different acronyms, right? We have a ton. So HSE is High School Equivalency. GED stands for the General Education Development Test. We kind of switched over from GED to HSE because GED got trademarked a couple of years ago. So when you hear people say high school equivalency or some of the other different little phrases that are around, that's what they're referring to. It's the same thing. And then the high set, there's another exam that falls under high school equivalency, and it's going to give that student that equivalent knowledge and skills, as if they graduated from high school, from a Texas high school, or not just Texas, I guess a high school here in the United States, rather. So GED and HiSET are just two different providers for those exams. HiSET came along after I switched roles, so I haven't had anybody actually take it, but I do know our campus offers it. And then I did include the links down here below where you can get some of that information about it. Okay, how much do the prep courses cost? So that's the bottom line. People are going to ask you, how much money is this going to cost me, right? So the HSE, High School Equivalency Preparation courses that we offer at TCC in our satellite locations are offered at no cost to the student, meaning somebody else is paying for you. However, the exam, whichever exam you choose to take, is where you're going to have to come out of pocket for your money. So again, if you're taking a class on campus, you go to one of our satellite locations, chances are it's been grant funded and somebody else is sponsoring you. But when you're ready to take your test, then that's where you're going to be coming out of pocket. Like if this is the GED test, it's going to be that $145, but you're not paying $145 up front. Where are the classes located in WebAdvisor? So I included the link for WebAdvisor in how to apply as a non-credit student. The HSE classes run on the quarter system instead of the semester system. So faculty and staff, when you go into WebAdvisor and you're looking for those classes, a lot of times people try to look under fall 2020. It's actually under CE quarter 4. So you'll actually see it under 2020 Q4 down toward the bottom of the screen. And the high school equivalency classes, so the classes and the orientation are listed under CCPX 1013. And then I gave you guys a quick little screenshot of what the quarters are. So you see Q1 is September through November, quarter 2 is December through February, quarter 3 is March through May, and we are in quarter 4 right now, June through August. And so I took a screenshot of where that was going to be in WebAdvisor, so you can kind of see it's at the bottom of the screen. There's the quarter 4 that I was referring to. Yeah, I know that is like size 8 font and nobody can read that, but those are our classes that are orientation sessions that are active on the books right now. And we even have some that are starting, some of the orientation sessions that are starting tomorrow. These are all going to be done remotely. So you'll have to tune in from your computer. Also, people might ask you, do test takers need any special equipment or skills to take the test? So from when I taught it, I recommended that the students purchase the calculator that they're going to be permitted to use on the exam. So the calculator is the TI-30XS, and it looks just like this. The price runs between $15 and $20. They can buy it from different places. I included the link for Staples, Walmart, Amazon, all of them have it. Do not overpay. It should not be any more than $20. It's not like one of the TI-83s or 89s that, we had to use in like our advanced math and science classes. And you don't take the hard copy, not the hard copy, the tangible calculator into the testing center. what will happen is when you're taking your test on the computer is the calculator will pop up on the screen for the questions that you can use the calculator on. You'll see it in the math and you'll see it in the science. So it'll look like this, and it's good for you to practice with it and get familiar where the buttons are, so you're not fumbling with them when you're trying to answer your questions, because unlike the TSI that our students take to come into college, the GED test is timed. So you've got to navigate through that information quickly and efficiently. And we don't have time for you to like really kind of fight with the calculator too. So we want to make sure you are prepared on both ends. Special equipment continued. So we actually have a calculator tutorial that will walk you through some of those features in the calculator. Like if you need to multiply by fractions, if you need to type something in as an exponent, it's going to show you how to do that. And that way you can practice it. Using the computer. So that was the biggest difference from when we actually switched over. So when the test changed over in 2014, previously it was on paper. And then it switched over to the computer. You want to look at the computer-based tutorial before you walk into the test, whether you take the class or not, because it's not just a multiple choice test. There's multiple choice, there's fill in the blank, there's some extended response and some short answer questions. So you're going to have to type. You don't have to be a perfect typist. You know, if you can type with your 2 index fingers pretty fast, as long as you can do it in the allotted amount of time, we're good. And then they have some questions that are called hotspot questions. So if there's a graph, you might have to plot points on there, and you need to know how to do those graphing questions. So it'll show you how to actually do that. And this tutorial works best on a computer, like a desktop or a laptop. Because of the hotspot questions, it doesn't function very well with your smartphone or tablet or anything that's touchscreen. And you can view it in English or Spanish. And then there's also some reference sheets too. So they'll give you a calculator reference sheet. There's a guide for the extended response questions where you might have to write a paragraph or two. And then there's also a formula chart for the math. So those of y'all that took the tax test or the STAR test, or if you're from my time where I was a TOS test person and we were the guinea pigs for tax, they'll give you a formula chart. You will have a formula chart for this too. So they will give you that, and they will give you should be a dry erase board. That's what they were doing when I still had class. You didn't get like loose sheets of paper for you to work out your calculations, and when you get to the essay portion, you can do your outline there. That was kind of the gist of it. So my other counterparts that are part of the Fab Four, is there anything that you guys can think of that you might have questions about, or that you've had questions that people have asked you, like when they've come into your office or stopped you on campus? And I will try to see if my answer matches your question.
Well, I have a question. Going back to the part where you asked, where you said that the students would be asked for specific information when registering the 16 to 17-year-olds.
Oh yeah, the minors.
The minors, yes.
Oh yes.
Oh, there you go. No, identification.
Oh yeah, right here.
More. Okay. It said must have completed forms for orientation and testing. What forms are those?
Okay, so when they have forms for orientation and for testing, on the first day, what they'll do is they're going to give them information like one of our continuing ed registration forms. They'll get one for orientation, and then after they complete orientation, they'll get one to actually sign up for class. And then depending on how their class was funded, so depending on that funding source, whether it was the United Way grant, the Chase grant, all these different types of grants, they're going to ask them for different paperwork.
Okay.
So it's going to depend on the location. but there's going to be some paperwork that they'll have to fill out that's grant specific. And then there's going to be some paperwork that is state specific that we turn into the Texas Education Agency too. So, but all that's done during that the 2-day orientation.
Okay, and why does it say only for minors?
Okay, so with the minors, okay, so what we're addressing here is typically the test is geared towards students that are 18 and up. So I'll show you that here. So this is from GD.com, and this is specific to the state of Texas. So technically, how old do I need to be to sit for the exam? Really, they want you to be 18. But what happens if I'm underage? So this is where you see the 16 and 17-year-olds. So if you're 16, we can't just sign you up. You actually really need to be like court ordered, or you're under the care of some sort of state agency. Job Corps is acceptable as well. You're not enrolled in high school. We need that a withdrawal slip from that last high school so we can get it from, like the high school counselor. And then a parent or guardian typically needs to sign off on you signing up for the class. And then also for you to sit for the exam. The documentation gets sent to the Texas Education Agency.
Okay, now what if the student, because it says parent or guardian, what if the student lives with, let's say, a grandparent or an aunt, and they're not legally the guardians, not like through, the court, the proper channels, they just live with them, which a lot of our students have that situation or may have that situation. In that case, would just the person they're living with be okay to sign off on it, or does it have to be a court-ordered guardian?
Typically, what I saw in my classes, and this could have changed, because I was teaching it back in 2014, they were really looking for that court-ordered parent or that guardian. So maybe that grandparent had been listed as that legal guardian.
Okay.
I didn't have very many 16-year-olds. I had a handful of 17-year-olds come in. If we couldn't get that information, then in a lot of cases, I had them hang back until they were 18. So sometimes I might get a student and they were turning 18 in 2 months anyway. So then I would check them off as, okay, you've already completed the information session. I'm going to put you on the list for the next orientation session. I already know when it's going to be. We're going to sign you up for that one because you'll be 18 by then, and we'll go ahead and we'll get you signed up.
Okay.
So that's how I navigated through it. Since I didn't have a full 16 and 17-year-olds, like I can probably name the number of 16-year-olds I had. And yeah, the 16-year-olds done deal. If they weren't court ordered, we could not take them. So they had to wait. And we couldn't take anybody under 16. So yeah, so typically I would, if we couldn't get that paper trail tight, then a lot of cases, what I did personally is I would kind of have them wait it out just a little bit, and they would come back because I would have their name on that list, and I would meet them and say, hey, you're 18 now. Come on, let's go.
Okay.
So
all right, thank you.
Or in some cases, some of them were able to, get the grandparent officially appointed as that legal guardian. And it's mainly just, just in case we get audited and stuff like that. We just need to make sure that it matched up. Good question. What else?
I have a question, Cherie.
All right, go for it.
On the same note, talking about like age demographic, what is the typical student that usually comes in and tests? I know given that TCC Community College, and so prior to my role or prior to coming to TCC, I worked with high school seniors and prepare them for their plans after high school. So what is the typical student like for testing for the GED or the HSC exam?
Okay, so the students that I saw coming into our HSE courses from when I was teaching it and even after, I saw a couple of different clusters. So I would see if it was a younger student, then I would see the ones that maybe either dropped out of high school, or I had ones that maybe they completed high school technically, but they didn't pass the STAR test. I actually had quite a few in my class where they completed all their coursework, but they didn't pass tax or STAR. So their diplomas got held. So that's where a lot of my younger students would come from. I would have some of our more life experience students, like if they maybe had been out of school for 20 years, so either they did not complete high school at that point, or maybe they did, but things have changed so much that maybe they weren't comfortable either coming into a college level course, or we had ones that, graduated 20 or 30 years ago, came to TCC, went through the whole process, took one of our developmental courses, didn't pass, took it again, didn't pass, took it a third time, didn't pass, and we reverse referred them because we needed something to build that foundation up. They're looking at that new math. So we need to give them the new math and then send them back up. And then what I also saw a lot in my classes in particular, because I was teaching GED and ESL, is I had a lot of students that had moved here from the United States, from outside the United States. And I had a bunch that either had a diploma, high school diploma or degree from outside the US. And for some reason, they weren't able to get their credentials evaluated. So maybe cost was an issue, or there's a situation going on in the country where they studied and we cannot retrieve their documents. And then I had students, let's say like we had some from like Mexico, and they just finished, primaria, which is like the equivalent of elementary, or secundaria, which is like the equivalent of middle school. So they didn't finish high school in the home country either. So yeah, so you'll see kind of a mix, all in that kind of one-room schoolhouse, depending on how the class is set up. When I was teaching it, the way we had it set up at that time is we had a fast track group, and then we had an adult basic education group. So I was one of the 5 instructional leads, so I taught fast track. So I had the students that came in, and when they tested during orientation, for the most part on all the subjects, they tested at high school level. So 9th grade and above, they just needed a quick little review. So like the students I was telling you guys about before we started recording, those ones that, hey, I completed out everything in 12th grade, but I missed my STAR test by 2 points in the math. They're great candidates for the fast track class because they've already seen the information. They just need to touch up and we get them on. For the ABE level course, which is kind of like that regular level track, that's going to be that student that we know, okay, you need some instruction on this. You're looking at this like, oh, this is new math. When did they come up with this? And you're seeing stuff on there that you haven't seen before, or you've been out of school a very long time, or you dropped out of school very early, so there's just stuff that you didn't get to, then you're a good candidate for that. And what they do is when you come through orientation, you meet with the instructor and they'll discuss with you which option they feel is best. Or if you kind of fall in that middle category, then they'll kind of let you choose and they'll give you the pros and cons of each one. Does that help?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I have a question. I teach English as a second language, and I get a lot of questions about GED or HSC. Some of my students had finished their school in their home countries, and even some of them have degrees from their home countries or some years of college. And then I have some other students who didn't finish school in their home country. What would you suggest to any of those? Would you students who are not proficient in English? Is the GED a good course to take, to course of study?
Okay. So you had some of the situations that I had occur when I was teaching ESL too.
Ah, I
Yes,
guess.
I had that happen several
Okay.
times. So so I would see the same thing too. I had quite a few that either didn't finish school in the home country or they did, but the evaluation just wasn't an option for whatever reason. We just could not get their credentials evaluated. I think it's a good conversation for your students that are probably like, let's say like in level 3 or level 4 ESL, or some of those upper level ESOL, ESLX students.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that that English base is solid before we switch them over. But
Okay.
we make sure that they know, hey, there's something else that you can do after we've completed that English. Or, in some cases, we've had some students that wanted to try to do both at the same time. So in my classroom, I
Ooh.
did have a whole line. I did have,
Uh-huh.
my really advanced ones. Some of them were saying, "Well, I just want to see what the GED is look like. What the GED looks like. Can I come and sit in on your class so I
Oh.
have an idea of what kind of information they're going to be asking me?" So
Mm-hmm.
I let some of them sit in so they could get a taste of not just the reading and writing portion, where they're getting exposure to the grammar and the reading and the vocabulary, but now they're getting exposure to some of the other subjects. So here's
Mm-hmm.
math in English, here is science in English, and the big sticky point, that social studies portion, because it's covering United States history, United States government, and economics. Our students that
Mm-hmm.
went to school here, it's a review. Our students that did not go to school here, that is brand new information. So they're getting brand new vocabulary and brand new content.
Mm.
It is a
Uh-huh.
double whammy, and that part is timed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. So what do you think then?
I think it's a good option, but we have to, like I was saying, we got to make sure that that base in English is pretty solid.
Huh?
So I think you can still tell, you can tell the beginning and intermediate students about it, but to tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do after we build you up. And
Uh-huh.
then for those more high intermediate to low advanced, high advanced students that you would have, I think if we've got that grammar base pretty solid, they'll be able
Mm-hmm.
to catch on. Especially
Okay.
if it's a student, yeah, especially if it's a student that has a diploma or a degree.
Mm-hmm.
They typically do well in like the math portion. I mean, stellar scores in math. Science actually typically goes pretty well. It's
Okay.
just, yeah, those, if it's numbers, they do well. I noticed that they struggle in the reading and writing, but in the writing portion, because the essay is timed, they only have 45 minutes to do the essay. And we're talking about a standard 5 paragraph essay. And then they struggle in that history portion because they just haven't had exposure to that information versus a student that, grew up here. Like I took
Mm-hmm.
US history 1 in 8th grade. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of it, but if I look at it, I'll remember.
Right.
Right. So I would just, a lot of times it's a case by case basis, but I would still go and go visit those ESL classes regardless of the level, and so that way they know, okay, this is something that you can shoot for. We have
Uh-huh.
something for you. This is what's next after, we build up your English. Okay, and then we got you in GD. Okay, now after we got you in GD, oh, look, you can go to college now. You can get a degree. You can get a certificate. You can go to the military. It doesn't stop.
Uh,
And that
okay.
kept a lot of my students motivated. And I have some still from when I first had them in ESL back in 2008. They started with me there. I got them through GED. I got them through a certificate program. And then, they came back again and they're like, okay, I'm ready for the degree.
Yeah.
So we got to watch their kids grow up and everything. Those little bitty kids are grown, but that's what it is. So I think if you plant that seed early, even if they don't do it right away, a lot of times they'll come back, or they'll give that information to a friend or family member, and they'll come too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Ew. All right, Fab Four. Is there anything else y'all can think of? Any other burning questions?
No, I think you've answered most of mine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm trying to pretend like we're still on campus and somebody flags you down in the parking lot. You know?
Sure.
You know, because we've all
Or
been.
in the grocery store because I recognize you.
Ooh, yes.
That
how many times
happens,
I've been-
yes.
You know how many times I've been flagged down in Walmart because I forgot to take off my ID? I have done academic advising in the frozen food aisle.
Right.
Plenty of times. So, yeah, I guess if there's nothing else that you guys can think of, then I guess what we'll do is we will end our session right here. So, Fab Four, thank you guys for asking your questions and helping to keep me on my toes. And then those of you guys that tuned in for our training session, we want to thank you too. And as always, if y'all need anything, holler at us and let us know.
Sounds good.
And